The Soviet Famine of 1932 to 1933, Stalin's Harvest of Despair, written by Sarah Willards, narrated by Judie Heths. Chapter 1. The Seeds of Famine, Soviet Agricultural Policies. The Soviet Famine of 1932 to 1933, one of the most devastating events in Soviet history, can be traced back to the aggressive agricultural policies enforced under Joseph Stalin's leadership. The roots of the famine lay in the drastic changes to agriculture during the late 1920s and early 1930s, particularly the forced collectivization campaign, which aimed to reshape the entire agricultural sector to fit the needs of the Soviet state. This chapter explores the key policies that set the stage for the disaster that would unfold in the early 1930s. The first step towards the famine was the rise of collectivization, a policy introduced by Stalin to consolidate individual farms into large, state-controlled collective farms. The goal was to increase agricultural productivity and provide the state with a surplus of grain to fuel industrialization. However, this policy met with widespread resistance from peasants who feared losing their land and livelihood. In response, the Soviet government resorted to violent measures to force peasants to join collective farms, including the execution or deportation of so-called kulaks, wealthier peasants, whom the regime labeled as class enemies. Alongside collectivization, Stalin's government implemented harsh grain procurement quotas. These quotas demanded that peasants surrender large portions of their harvest to the state at low prices, which were often below the cost of production. The policy was particularly detrimental to regions with fertile land, where the government set even higher quotas to maximize exports, often at the expense of local populations. The pressure to meet these quotas, combined with the challenges of collectivized farming, led to a dramatic reduction in food available for local consumption. The Soviet government also began a campaign of dekulakization, which not only targeted wealthy peasants, but also disrupted the social fabric of rural communities. This campaign undermined the traditional peasant economy, which had relied on the expertise and leadership of experienced farmers. As a result, agricultural productivity dropped, and food shortages became increasingly severe. With the state's demands for grain growing ever more insistent, peasants had little incentive to produce more than what was necessary for survival. These agricultural policies.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?